Welcome to another Apollo Papyrus podcast episode. I am Aaron Apollo Camp. For this episode, my interview guest is the author of the nonfiction book 99 Words, How to Build a Better Life. His name is Curt Linville, and my interview with Curt will follow the note-taking sounds. Curt Linville, welcome to the Apollo Papyrus podcast.
Aaron, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay. Well, my name is Curt Linville, and what should I say? I am an aspiring author who's written about 4 books. I also am a family man that lives in the mountains of Colorado. My wife and I raised 4 kids here, and my youngest is now 21. And my career path has been a RF engineer, which means I've designed cellular networks to make your cell phone work.
This interview will primarily be about your book, 99 Words, Building a Better Life, although you mentioned you've written a few other books. Without spoiling too much about 99 Words, Building a Better Life, what is that book about?
Well, 99 Words is my first nonfiction book, and the purpose of 99 Words, just a little backstory. As my kids were going through college, I got to know some of their acquaintances and other students, and as they entered into young adulthood, I realized, man, this is really a challenging time for younger adults. And I noticed that there was a sense of bewilderment, which I think comes largely out of our current cultural setting with a strange media setup, social media creating some rather narcissistic and nihilistic dynamics that other generations haven't had to face. Everything seems less authentic. And I thought, you know what? We have a bewildered generation. And I had the time to write a book that would help people to devise a belief system that could stand as bedrock, something that they could build a foundation on for building a life. So 99 Words, Building a Better Life is all about getting something you can hang on to in the storm. And it was intended to help people of all ages, but especially younger adults who are trying to get started in this crazy life.
You mentioned in your introduction, you've written some other books. Without spoiling too much about other books you've written, what are they called and what are they about?
Well, it would be kind of hard for people to find them because I have not published the other books except for one which I published in an audio form. Let me just give you a quick backstory. In high school, as a senior, we had a creative writing class that started, and I believe it was a semester-long class. And I had already been published in anthologies and things like that, and we were kind of going back to square one, like this is a paragraph. And a friend of mine who was also an established writer, he went to the teacher and he said, "Can I just write a book instead of doing this class?" And I jumped up and I said, "Me too." So he and I both wrote our first books in high school that semester, and I maybe made 30,000 words or something like that. Never published that one, but it was a fantastic experience to learn what it takes to do a longer work. But then when my family was young, we moved into the mountains of Colorado when we lived at 8,240 feet. And I was inspired, Aaron, by Frances Mays and her book, Under the Tuscan Sun. I just loved the descriptive nature of it and how it took me to Italy and made me want to experience what she was experiencing. And I realized that very few people in the nation or in the world get to live at altitude in the mountains of Colorado. And so I thought there are going to be people that might be interested in what that's like. So I wrote the book called 8240, One Family's Life Above the Clouds. And I never published it as a written work, though someday I may. But I am also the host of the Adventure Sports Podcast. And so I actually did an audio version of that, which was released through the Adventure Sports Podcast so that people could enjoy the book. And really what that book is a description of what it's like to live in the forest, in the mountains of Colorado. And the weather's different, the season's different, the light is different. And obviously, because it's called One Family's Life Above the Clouds, quite often we are living above the clouds. So that's what that book was about. I have another audio book that has not been released, and I call it Jack and Serenity. and it's about a young couple who meet and who it's an adventure where Serenity has some special skills where she can predict natural cataclysms like earthquakes and hurricanes. And some people are pursuing her to try to hijack those skills for their own devices. And Jack is a young man that's trying to help her escape from the people that are trying to use her skills, and also they have a developing romance. So anyway, Jack and Serenity is just a fun audiobook. Someday I may release that one as well. But 99 Words is the first book that I've released in written form.
I'm going to pivot back to 99 Words, Building a Better Life for the next few questions. What are the 99 words and how does one use them?
Oh, good question and well stated. So when I started to write 99 Words, I thought, okay, I want to write a book that will help these younger adults sort out their belief systems so that they can live a better life. And I thought I need 10, 12 chapters. I'll come up with 10 or 12 concepts that I'll explore in the book. And I started brainstorming and just wrote down ideas for life, ideas for living, characteristics that make life better or worse, depending on how well we've mastered them. And when I got to 99, I stopped myself. And first of all, I said, well, there's no way I'm writing 99 chapters. But then I realized two things had happened. The first, I had a fairly comprehensive list of life concepts that really help us to live a better life. And then the other thing that I realized was there will always be more words, more concepts, more ways that we can improve our lives. So I stopped at 99 instead of going to 100 because it pulls toward more. And I wanted people to kind of get the feeling, that life is an ongoing learning experience. No matter how old we are, we can always learn more and live better lives. So the 99 words turned into a methodology. And the bottom line, to be really succinct here, Aaron, is that we learn from life experiences, and often those are negative experiences. We get slapped upside the head by the reality of what we've just been through, and quite often that was quite avoidable. We could have learned the lessons intentionally prior to getting slapped upside the head by life. And so the idea behind 99 Words is once a person clears their mind and their heart, then they read through the 99 words and a few will jump out like, oh, that's something I need to learn more about, or holy cow, yeah, that resonates with me right now. And then you can zero in to an idea, a concept, and do a deep dive into it and begin to integrate that new understanding of this life concept into your own life until it becomes a part of you. And then you can revisit the 99 words and repeat the process. So rather than waiting for life's mistakes to knock us down and teach us hard lessons, the idea with 99 words is we can proactively sort out areas that we know that we would benefit from learning more about. And so that is what the 99 words process is.
You assert that love is a lot more than most people realize, to the point that you regard it as the greatest power. What do you mean by that?
I do believe that love is the greatest power, and I believe that people are terrified of love. And for that reason, Aaron, our modern society has twisted our understanding of love into something that love really isn't, because they need love to be in a package that they can control. It's a similar thing. This sounds kind of silly, but in ancient times, people made a lot of idols. And the reason they made idols to worship is because they wanted a god that they could control. They wanted a god that they could make and they could put in their backpack and they could carry to their next location, kind of like a good luck charm. Humans love to do this with things that are very, very powerful. We like to twist them into something that we feel like we can control. And love is one of those things. Love is not safe. Love is not easy. Love, if allowed to be what love really is the most powerful force in the universe. So it's been twisted by our modern culture into, think about the words we have for love in English. It's kind of funny. We have puppy love. We have, oh, I love that chocolate bar. We have sexual love. We have even, some people say love, whatever that means. And most of the time in our modern culture, love has become something that refers to a sexual relationship, a short-term romance, a feeling that we have instead of what it really is, which is the most powerful force in the universe, something that will change our hearts and change our lives. In other languages, like in Greek, they have multiple words for love, which really help to kind of sort out what it's about. So I'm just going to tell you what the 7 words are that I pulled out of Greek that help to understand love. There's philautia, which is love of self. There's ludus, which is flirtatious love. There's eros, which is sexual love. There's philia, which is brotherly love. Now we're getting somewhere, the love of friendship. There's pragma, which is long-standing devoted love. There's storge, which is familial love, family love. And then there's the one that is above all others, which is agape. And agape is divine love. And I would assert agape is a goal worth pursuing that we only get small tastes of. But in the pursuing of the lofty goal of perfect divine love, our lives are greatly enhanced and improved. So anyway, I assert in the book, there are multiple chapters on love, but I assert in the book that love is not easy and love has to be tough and love requires sacrifice and love requires doing right things instead of selfish things. And as individuals and as a society, if we could make love-based decisions, it would totally change the world. And I don't mean that as some hippy-dippy philosophy. I mean, love is that powerful, but most people don't think that much about it because we've redefined love into things like a one-night stand.
What motivated you to write 99 Words Building a Better Life?
Really, Aaron, it was when I realized that I had been devoting my life to raising our family. And since my 4 kids were adults, they didn't need as much of my resources, as much as of my time. And I thought, you know what? I learned so much from raising these kids that I think someone else might benefit from. And when I realized that there was a real need for younger adults to try to sort out a foundation to stand on, then I decided I would do what I could. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I'm claiming to have put together a resource, a toolkit that people can use that hopefully will be helpful for them. But that was the motivation. I said, hey, I'm kind of done raising the family. Now I can devote my time and energy into something that might be an encouragement for other people.
Is 99 Words Building a Better Life independently, traditionally, or hybrid published? And what was your journey to getting that book published like?
Well, my sister is an author, and she has somewhere around a dozen published works. And over the years, I watched her as she was trying to work with agents and, you know, try to find a publisher and to try to do the traditional route. And I realized the amount of time and energy that she was spending on it. And I said, you know what, when I decide to publish a book, I'm just going to self-publish. And so I independently published 99 Words Building a Better Life because I just wanted to bypass the whole challenge of trying to get noticed. And now I'm trying to let people know the book exists as a resource. So rather than trying to sell books, quote unquote, I really am just trying to get the word out. There's a toolkit here that might help some people and encourage some people in their lives.
What are some practical ways that one can improve his or her own life that you would recommend?
Wow. That's a beautiful question, Aaron, and it's really the heart and soul of what this book is about. The book is dedicated to those who care or hope to care. And I know that sounds very, very simple, but I really do believe if we begin to care and begin to do the hard work of living our lives in ways that are more beneficial for ourselves and others, then life gets better. And often that means we have to be extraordinarily honest with ourselves. I mean, if we take a few minutes to be quiet and say, what do I do that's holding me back? What do I do that is not really helping in any way? I think every one of us can go, oh, that thing right there, that's holding me back. And we can also use the 99 words to say, well, what would help me forward where I could have a more meaningful and joyful life? And I think it's not hard to realize, wow, that is deficient in my life. So the first step is begin to care. Understand that nihilism is a philosophy that hurts people. And nihilism says that we have no value and that there's no meaning to life. But the reality is, you have infinite value. You have so much potential inside of you to make a positive difference in the world. It's astounding. And you may never know all of the positive impacts that you have, because as you impact people in your life, they impact others with your impacts through them. And you're casting energy into what I call the space-time continuum, and it creates waves like throwing a pebble into a pond, and we don't know where those waves are going to crash and what a difference they're going to make. It might be 100 years from now, but you are incredibly valuable, and we have to get past the nihilistic ideas that other people define us in some way, or that we don't have a purpose, or that life is meaningless. We have to get past nihilistic ideas and narcissistic ideas and move forward to, I was made to do this. It's a passion, and I can do it in a way that fulfills me and contributes to others. And when we pursue those sorts of things, life takes on meaning and joy, and that's what it's about.
I have a couple questions to finish this interview. You co-founded the Adventure Sports podcast. Who did you co-found that podcast with, and what topics did that podcast cover?
So we co-founded the podcast 10 years ago, and my co-host was Travis Parsons. And at the time, Travis and I had designed some lightweight backpacking natural fuel stoves, and we wanted to get the word out about the stoves. So we started the podcast really to try to let people know that there was a product they might use backpacking. But it didn't take long for the podcast to take on a life of its own and to just completely overshadow anything that we were doing with our backpacking products. So Travis and I ran the Adventure Sports podcast together for 4 or 5 years. And then we realized that we were burned out. We had too much going on. We had full-time jobs that were more than full-time jobs. And so we were so happy that Mason Gravely was willing to take over the podcast. And he ran it for about the last 6 years or so. And then recently his life became too busy. And so I have reacquired the Adventure Sports podcast. And the topics that we cover are all things adventure. It's really about getting out into the natural world, connecting with it, being active and healthy, and having life experiences that make real memories. And just one quick anecdote that I think might illustrate the idea behind this show. One day I was working. I worked from home, and I was working, and I just thought, man, I just got to get all this stuff done. And then I realized I actually had some bandwidth to go on a motorcycle ride that afternoon, but I thought, no, I'm too busy. I just got to, but I stopped myself. I said, no, I'm going to go have an adventure. And so I did have a crazy adventure. I ended up going up to about 12,000 feet on the motorcycle, and I kind of got lost in the back roads, the mountain roads, as the sun was setting, and I had to find my way out. And anyway, long story short, I had an amazing memory-forming experience. And then I thought for a moment, had I stayed at home and just continued to work, that memory never would have been made. And I believe that memories are worth more than gold. So the Adventure Sports podcast is about encouraging people to go make those memories, to be healthy, to be active, to connect with nature and with the community around the sports they love. So it is about encouraging people. So in a way, it's a parallel to 99 Words. It's about encouraging people.
Have you considered getting back into hosting a podcast? And if so, what are some ideas for a podcast you may launch or join at some point in the future?
Well, Aaron, it's a funny thing. I didn't write 99 Words to sell a lot of books, like I already mentioned. One of my motivations for writing 99 Words was to be able to get on more podcasts like your own, so that I could begin to reach more people with some of these ideas. So the book, in a way, was a key to unlock some doors. And I haven't launched it yet, but I do plan to launch a new podcast in the near future. The Adventure Sports podcast, which I currently work on, it's not political. It doesn't talk about difficult topics like sex and religion and things that really kind of matter on a deeper level in life. Instead, the Adventure Sports podcast is about adventure sports, just like it sounds. So the podcast that I'm planning on releasing in the near future is going to wrestle the more difficult topics, the topics that are in 99 Words. the topics of how to have a meaningful life, how to make decisions that are better for yourself and others. We won't shy away from talking about difficult conversations like political statements. So that podcast will be coming in the near future, and I'm wrestling right now what to name it. I thought about naming it something like Take It or Leave It, you know. It's just a discussion platform, a forum for exploring ideas. And then I've also considered just calling it after my own name. And the reason for that is because everything I do is under my name, so people could find things easily if it were associated with my name. But I'm not the kind of person who really wants to be famous or get my name out there. So, Aaron, it's a tough call, but people will always be able to find it when I launch by going to curtlinville.com or searching Curt Linville online.
Curt, thank you for appearing on the Apollo Papyrus podcast. You were a wonderful guest to interview.
Oh, well, thank you, Aaron. I hope that people realize I don't care if anybody out there ever buys my book, but I want them to know that there's an encouraging resource. And I mean, it's 127,000 words, 360 pages of this is how you can sort these things out. And so I hope that people understand they have a toolkit. If they know someone that could use some encouragement, perhaps they could consider it. And Aaron, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed it.
As always, I'll include relevant links in the text description of this episode. This is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding y'all to find your writing and reading purpose. Bye for now. Copyright 2025, Aaron Apollo Camp, all rights reserved. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse or retransmission of this podcast episode without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited except under fair use guidelines. Royalty-free music and sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.